Assalamu alaikum, dear sisters, and jazakumullah khairan for all of you that have joined us today. Sister Mbarak, I don't think we have the PowerPoint, do we? So I'll just do the ayahs.
I do. So just tell me which one you want me to.
All right. Could we have Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 108?
Okay.
Our religion, Dinana, our religion of Islam, is a religion of purification. So it is one of the rights of Islam, tahara, and being clean is something compulsory in Islam, and it's very, very rare where you'd find a Muslim that has a bad odor or smell. Why? Because Allah has made wudu compulsory, ghusl, many types of ghusl compulsory. There are some ghusls which are mustahab, which means favored, but because we have so much contact with water and washing, Allah has made a Muslim pure from the inside and the outside, pure from the inside with Iman, and cleansify his heart from the diseases of the heart and the backbiting, the lies, and all of the bad habits and morals. And on the outside, it's difficult for someone to smell bad as a Muslim, even in the the poorest communities, or let's say even if he was in a desert, in a forest and woods. Why? Because أطيب الطيب الماء. It was said and the Arab times, in the old times, that the most purest thing you could use is water. Water can cleansify everything. You don't need those fancy shower gels and soaps and all of that. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and in evidence of our religion is a religion of purification, we say, أسجد التقوى لا تقم فيه أبدا لمسجد أسس على التقوى من أول يوم أحق أن تقوم فيه رجال يحبون أن يطهروا والله يحب المطهرين. So this ayah here on the PowerPoint, it just clarifies that our connection with the mosques makes sure that we do not enter the mosques only when we're pure, and that's how we should be. Yuhibbuna, that we are a group of people that love purifications. So what is ghusl? There are different types of ghusl. There are one, compulsory ghusls, that every Muslim that says Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah has to do. And then we have the favored ghusls, which we'll go through, and then we'll have the form of ghusl. Will explain arkan al-ghusl. How is the procedure of ghusl, step by step. And then we have the bans of ghusl, or the things that are not favored to do while you're doing your ghusl. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we start with anwa' al-ghusl, the compulsory types of ghusl, which every Muslim has to go through. One, which is usually forgotten or underrated, is the ghusl of entering in Islam. So if you were a non-believer and you decided to enter Islam, before you pronounce the shahadatain, you say your shahada, you have to perform ghusl. And we all know the famous story of Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab, when he was a big warrior and he was known for his strength in Jahiliyyah before Islam and in Islam. And when he decided to go one day before Islam to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so in order to distract him, the believers said, oh, what? Your sister, she's in Islam as well. Might as well go and kill her and her husband beforehand. When he arrived at the doorstep, he heard them reading Quran, Surah Taha. It was in a script. It was on a piece of leather, a script of Surah Taha. He barged in with his sword and he said, show me, give me what you're reading. And his sister refused. She said, Ya Umar, this is a pure paper and I cannot handle it to non-believers. You have to do your ghusl and then over the script. And he did that. He entered and he done his ghusl. And subhanallah, when he read that script, he went to Sayyidina Muhammad, but instead of trying to kill our beloved Prophet, he pronounced his shahadatain. So that is the evidence that no one can enter Islam or pronounce shahadatain without doing ghusl. Why? Because it is said Islam is the religion of purification, and then you had sexual intercourse, you haven't purified yourself from all of that, and it's a new start to a new religion to wash away your sins from the inside and the outside. So that is the first ghusl. The first compulsory ghusl is the ghusl when entering Islam. Ghusl number 2, which is compulsory, is after al-janaba. And after al-janaba, which means after sexual intercourse, we have the dalil, the ayah from Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 6, which says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ جُنُبًا فَطَّهَّرُوا. That is the ayah that shows every after sexual intercourse relationship, you cannot carry on with your life unless you do your ghusl. And then the third compulsory ghusl is after your menstruation cycle. This is for women, girls, and ladies. So, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ, the third ayah for the ghusl for menstruation cycle is from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 222. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ قُلْ فَاعْتَزِلُوا النِّسَاءَ فِي الْمَحِيضِ ولا تقربوهن حتى يطهرن فإن تطهرن فاتوهن من حيث أمركم الله. So that's the third ghusl. The fourth ghusl is after maternity, after childbirth, and that could be the longest period. A woman does not pray, does not fast, and does not touch the Quran. It could go up to 40 days. But after that, the scholars said she has to wash, and even if there's blood, she will count it as hukm istihada. She will have to just do her wudu for every salah, try to have fresh underwear before that salah, but she cannot stop salah for more than 40 days. So this is number 4 after childbirth. And the final ghusl, which we do not perform on ourselves, it is someone else that performs it to us, is when we're going to meet our Lord in the best form, is after our death. Ghusl al-Mawta. When before your burial, you meet Allah purified and washed, and there's special sidr. Rasulullah ﷺ said the dead is washed with sidr, which is a plant well known in the Arab Peninsula. It's crushed, dried, crushed, made into powder, mixed with water, and that's what a dead person is washed with. He isn't washed with the luxurious shampoos and body gels, with the sidr and musk, and he is wiped with white musk. So these are the 5 compulsory ghusls. We'll go through them again. 1 is entering Islam, 2 after sexual intercourse, 3 after menstruation cycle, 4 after childbirth, and the 5th is after your death. What are arkan al-ghusl? So how do we do al-ghusl? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he used to perform ghusl, he would never dip his hands before, obviously it wasn't running water from a shower, in a jug, a bowl, a tub, whatever it is, without washing his hands first. So you wash your hands, you wash your private parts, and you perform your wudu that you would do for any salah, but you do not do your feet. You leave your feet, apart from your feet, you leave that to last. So you do all your wudu, but do not do your feet. But we're not forgetting the feet, and we're doing between your toes. And after you do your wudu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he always favored yameen, our right side or right hands before our left, you start doing your right side before your left. You'd pour 3 jugs of water on your head. That's the favorable way. But if you're under a shower, you don't want to use a jug, you try and get the water running until it soaks your roots. So here we have a question. Ladies that braid their hairs, the African braids, subhanallah, our religion is complete. Salama, from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she went up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and told him, I'm finding it very difficult, Ya Rasulullah. Whenever I have to do ghusl, I have to undo all those braids. وَكُنْتُ امْرَأَةً أَشُدُّ ضَفَائِرِي. She told Rasulullah, I am a lady that tightens up my braids. And he said, you do not have to undo them, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, but you have to make sure the water reaches your scalp. So your braids are there. You're gonna dig in with your fingers to make sure the water has reached every part of your root, the roots of your hair. But you do not have to undo your braids. Okay? So you start with your head and then you start with your upper right side. So you wash, and it's mustahab, not just let the water run. You're meant to rub in with the water. No soap. Rub in onto your armpits. And then you do your left upper side and you go downwards. Start with the right until you're left. Now you come to the left feet, left out feet, which we did not do in the beginning when we performed the wudu. You do between your toes and make sure that every single part of your body has been washed out with water. After you've done this, okay, you say, Allah ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. No, sorry. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Like this, you can jump out of the bathtub, the shower screen, whatever it is, you're ready to do your salah. You're clean. You want to go further, you want to do your shampoo, you have your own routine, that's free. But in Islam, like this, you're purified and you're ready to do your salah. This
Sorry to
is
interrupt, Sister Arwa. Just really quickly, do you have like a PowerPoint or a clip where either you have the steps or the dua? Because we can't see it if it's on.
yeah, Sister Baraka, I sent the dua there or I didn't send it? Right,
Okay. Yeah, I've got it. I'm just
Yeah.
fiddling with showing it now.
All
What
right.
is it now?
All
Yeah,
right.
here it is.
Okay. So that's the dua, which is compulsory after all types of ghusl, which means the ghusl of entering Islam, the ghusl after sexual intercourse, the ghusl after your menses, and finally the ghusl after childbirth. But when you've passed away, the washer that does your ghusl will say different wordings, and obviously you're not held accountable for that. It's the person that washes you that says that dua. Right. So this is arkan al-ghusl. These are the compulsory steps of ghusl. Without it, your ghusl is missing. We need to be very, very careful. Those that put nail polish, even if there's a strip of nail polish that bans the water from reaching your nails, it is a burden. It is a sin. Those that use acrylic nails, false nails, and stick them, the glue, the acrylic, you name it, is something that bans water. It is said that certain types of hair masks, hair gels, and hairsprays that are difficult to come out with just like one flush of water, you have to rub in to make sure that that barrier has been washed away and water has reached your scalp. It's not important that your actual hair is drenched in water. But what's important is your scalp the water has reached and entered the roots of your hair. So if, let's say you got very long hair and it's braided, the tips of it are not soaked with water. It is halal. We're talking about the scalp. The scalp and the roots, they have to be drenched in water. It's not the tips. And like I said about the nails, between your toes, every single part of your body has to be reached with water and washed out the minimum 3 times. But as alhamdulillah, we have flowing water, it's difficult to miss it, but you should be under the shower long enough to get all your body parts drenched in water with you trying mustahab. This is the proper performance how Rasulullah ﷺ used to wash. He used to rub in the water with his hands. Okay, so this is the compulsory ghusl, and this is how it's done. Then we have al-ghusl al-mustahab, which you get rewarded for. Mustahab means favorable, in favor in Islam, and you get hasanat. Number 1 is ghusl يوم الجمعة. رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال وجب الغسل على كل محتلم يوم الجمعة. You won't get a sin, and it's not haram if you don't do it, but Rasulullah stressed on it with the hadith that the Muslim should wash not at least every Jum'ah before he goes to Salat al-Jum'ah. So that ghusl before Salat al-Jum'ah, you will get rewarded. And why? Jum'ah is a holy day. Jum'ah is the day you go to meet your Muslim brothers and sisters in the mosque. You should be in your best form. And it is said, there's another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu, the minimum a Muslim amount that he could, no, the maximum, sorry, amount that a Muslim could go on without washing is 7 days. Is 7 days. So a lot of people that just shower once a week would do it on Jum'ah. They say, right, I'm gaining the hasanat here for Jum'ah. I only wash from Jum'ah to Jum'ah. And especially at the time when water wasn't, you know, very easy to get access to and everything, people used to save their ghusl, their shower, their ghusl for Yom al-Jum'ah to get the hasanat. And because in Islam, a Muslim should not exceed 7 days without washing himself under running water. So, subhanallah, this is the first mustahab ghusl, ghusl Yom al-Jum'ah. The second mustahab ghusl is on the Eidain, al-Eid, Eid al-Fitr wa Eid al-Adha. That is mustahab, and it's mentioned before Eid and before you go Salat al-Eid, either late in the night, you want to do it in the morning, but your intention there, your niyyah, is I'm doing this ghusl because I'm going out for Eid Salah, or going out for Eid to meet my Muslim brothers and sisters. And then before entering Mecca al-Mukarramah, and before entering al-Madinah al-Munawwara, especially if you're going to go to Ziyarat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, on that day, you should have a ghusl. It's mustahab. You do your ghusl with the intention, today I'm going to Ziyarat Qabr Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and you do your ghusl just in the same form. Like we said, all the ghusl is in the same form. You have your intention while you're doing this ghusl. You wash your hands, wash your privates, do your wudu, save your feet till the end. And like I just explained, you start by gushing water on your head, doing your right side first, then your left side, and then in the end, is the dua, the known dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has taught us. What are makruhat al-ghusl? What are the bans in al-ghusl? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told his companions, never do your ghusl in still water. Still water is like a closed pond or a valley, not a running river. And they said, Rasulullah, what happens if we have no other alternative? He said, don't jump into the water. Try to get the water out. Dig in with a jug, with a pot, with a bowl, whatever. Get from that water and wash outside. Do not jump in while you have najasa, while you're not pure, into that still water. Do not contaminate it for all the rest of the creatures that come to drink, or even humans. But before, this was where people used to drink from. So if you these are the things that bans that where you should not be doing your ghusl. If it's still water, عين, يعني still water, let's say a well or something like that, you do not jump in it. You dig out the water in a jug or container and you wash yourself on it. Al-israf fil ma. There is a ban in Islam to waste water. And the hadith here is hadith Rasulullah sallam, لا تسرف في الماء ولو كنت على نهر جار. Do not waste water even if you are standing on a gushing, flowing river. Where do you think water will never end? So, but even though this is the morals and teaching of Islam, do not waste water. And subhanallah, this should not be only during ghusl. This is a general hadith for everything. I see people washing the dishes. The tap is open there to the end, and she's gone to answer the phone. The tap is open. And then she goes to change the TV channel and she comes back. And then, subhanallah, we are Muslims. Yeah, well, I pay the bill. Yeah, you pay the bill. You have to close that tap, because the punishment, if we do not thank Allah for what we have and for the water, it could go. The water could go. And just last week, my whole street had no water for around 5 hours. There was a problem. There was people were gonna crying in tears. We need to wash. We need the washer. No, we're not used to it. 5 hours felt like 5 years. So it could happen to anyone. Do not take it for granted. We have to thank Allah for the clean water we have. If you're having ghusl, you use the water you need, but you don't waste. You don't keep the shower running for 1 hour just because you think the water's there and it's endless. You finished your shower, you done your shampoo, you done your process. Close the taps and walk out. But do not leave any water flowing and wasting. You're watering your garden, you have a water hose. The minute you've watered all the plants, the grass, switch off the tap. Al-israf fil ma is a ban. To waste water is a ban and is a sin in Islam. We should be very careful with doing that. So these are the process and procedures for ghusl, and I've gone through the types of al-ghusl. I'll just check the chat box if anybody has any questions. Or Sister Baraka, if you could get there to me, because I have a problem getting back to the chat box.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Arwa.
What
MashaAllah. Yeah, we will get back to the question after the second segment.
Oh,
So
I think, sorry to interrupt. I think just not to interrupt the flow of things, would it be possible for me to do my session after the question Q&A? Because I think it will probably, rather than them to mix, hair and more Islamic questions, if that's okay.
Okay, if Sister Arwa is happy with that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Just quickly, I have put a recap of the main point on the chat box. And mashallah, Sisawa has delved really deep within the allocated time. Jazakallah khair for keeping to the time, Sisawa, on the importance why we have to have ghusl and the types of ghusl, the compulsory one and the recommended one. And it's actually good that, Sarah, you did mention that Friday when I think I was having discussion yesterday with one of my lovely sister, and we were talking about the Friday, is it compulsory? Was actually one of the questions we were going to ask. Is it mandatory to have that Friday ghusl? But now we understand that it is recommended, highly recommended sooner. Okay. The floor is now opened to questions. But remember, like I said earlier on, all of us, we do ghusl in one way or the other. But the key focus for this lecture is to perfect it, make it perfect, get all of the reward, maximize the reward. And out of our last lesson, Sister Haru has made it clear to us, you can keep your braid. But also to perfect it, we should not waste water. And also, if we have any nail polish, we need to remove them, or any false nail, we need to remove them. And Jazakallah khaira, I think the washing of the feet, that question has been coming up in the past, and you've just clarified that. So when we make the wudu to start the ghusl, we do not need to wash the feet until after we finish the ghusl. Jazakallah khaira. There are two ways you could ask your questions. You can type it into the chat box, or you could raise your hand, and then when we call you, you can unmute and ask your questions. Bismillah.
Sister Baraka, I've just seen a question here from Sister Ruqayya. Do we have to take off earrings before ghusl too? So I'd like to answer that question.
Bismillah.
So yes, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Sister Ruqayya, the earrings, there's two types of earrings. You know, the ring ones and the hoop ones, where you feel that the water is easily flowing in and out from them. Those you don't have to take off. But if it's a big stud one, let's say, you know, those big pearl ones that stick to your ear loop, and there's a stud at the back where you feel that no matter how much water you gush, the ear loop has not water reached it, then you should take it off. So it depends on what type of earring it is. You just have to make sure that water has reached your ear loop. If it has, then it's okay to keep it on. If it's the type of earrings that blocks your ear loop, then you have to remove it. Your ear loop is part that has to be washed and has to be is part of your ghusl, has to be performed. Then the sister that's asking evidence for ghusl when entering Islam, yes, like I said, it is the incident of Umar bin al-Khattab when he entered to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was the first ghusl and the first person to perform ghusl in Islam. There is evidence from the scholars that whenever anyone comes to say Shahadatain, and that's why we got showers in the mosques. Didn't anyone ask why we have shower heads in the mosque? You could bring a sister and say, Sheikh, she wants to say her Shahada. He'll tell you, go, take her out. Let her do her ghusl, and then bring her back in the mosque so she can perform her Shahada. It is, there is no conflict between the scholars of Islam that it is compulsory for someone before pronouncing his Shahada to have the ghusl of Islam. And I will try to find you more dalils, there's no certain ayah and there's no certain hadith, but the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam throughout the generations, if it was a Jew, a Persian, whoever, somebody would bring her and say he wants to enter Islam and he wants to do his Shahada. They would say, we are following the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let him have his ghusl and then bring him back to do his Shahadatain. I've heard a sister here also ask, sorry about that, I can't remember all the names. Is it okay to have your shower, your normal shower, shampoo and shower gel, whatever, and then do your ghusl? To be honest, sister, if we're following the right procedures of Islam and ghusl, no. When you jump in the bathtub or the shower, you should be starting with the intention of the ghusl, doing the procedures of washing your hands, your privates, wudu, ghusl, then you have your shower. You don't vice versa. This is proper form for ghusl. You should not be reversing it or starting with your normal shower, shampoo, blah, 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 and then doing your ghusl. No, you should be starting with your water. That is because of the value of ghusl. Just like I mentioned, in Islam, water is the purest purification. You should believe that from the bottom of your heart. If you jump out of that bathtub or shower without using any fragrance, no shampoo, no shower gel, nothing, you're pure. No one can tell you, sister, you're not pure. There's just one addition there. After menses, the Sahabiya went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One, Sahabiya, companion,
female companion.
Yeah, female companion, asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, how do I clean from my menses? And he said, do your ghusl just like you do after your intercourse. Ghusl, just add to it, follow the path of blood بالمسك الأسود, with black musk. So it is a sunnah after your ghusl, from your menses and also from the childbirth, is to use black musk in your private parts. Black musk has become very, very rare now and very, very expensive. Worse than gold. You can get it in Mecca, you can get it in Medina, and ask for it. That's the only type of musk that does not irritate that area, and medically wise is safe. It doesn't cause infections and all of that. I'm not saying now that's you should go and get black musk and it's a must, because one, like I said, about the price, and it's become very, very rare. Those that could afford it, buy it. Two, there's a lot of imitated black musk out there which are disastrous. If you try to use a perfume in that place, you'll get infections, you'll get skin rashes, you'll get all types of problems. So this is the only thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam added to water, added after water for the ladies after their menses and after childbirth, is black musk. So the sister that asked, do we use our shower first and then we do a ghusl? No, you do your ghusl first, then do your shower. That's the correct.
Sister Hawa, thank you so much for asking that question, because I am very sure, well, I'm one of those two who are guilty of doing that, having the normal shower. Again, this discussion came up yesterday where we were just trying to audit our own knowledge, what we already know about ghusl. And we were debating whether, okay, is it important to have the normal shower first and then have the ghusl? But just to ask one more question, following up with that one, Sawa. So supposing it is the ghusl after the sexual relationship, is one not supposed to wash up, if there is any of this on the body, wash them off first before having the ghusl?
If there's any what, Sister Baraka, sorry,
I was any semen on the body of the.
If there's any semen, of course, the minute
on the body,
yeah, but you're gonna wash your hands first, and you wash your privates, and you're gonna start with gushing 3 jugs of water on your head, and any semen would have washed off. It's gonna get washed off with water, and like I said, that's why rubbing in, you don't just make the water flow from the shower head, will make anything go wash off. Nothing will get stuck there to you. There's a question here from Sister Mona. Is there specific words depending on which ghusl? No. All the words for all the 4 ghusls are the same, apart from the 5th ghusl is after your death, and which is not your responsibility. It is the responsibility of ghassalin al-mawta, those that are specified in washing dead bodies.
Jazakallah khair. Right.
Was
If anyone, any more questions, if you like to type it in or you want to put up your hand, please do so. Do we wash body part once or 3 times? Okay, right. There is a question here. I'm sure you can read it, Sisarwa.
yeah.
For the ghusl, do we wash the body part once or 3 times?
It should be 3 times. Unless you're certain it's 3 times, this is the sunnah. But like I said before, people used to use a jug. So you're gonna make every part, make sure that water has reached it and drenched it. So the minimum is 3 times. If you're under a shower, so when you rub every body part, the shower head is there, it's running, it's flowing. Rub 3 times. Rub 3 times. You're rubbing your arms, give it 3 rubs. You're rubbing your legs, give them 3 rubs. You're washing your feet.
Apologies, we're having some technical issue there. I think it's just a connection issue from Sister Arwa, and I'm sure she'll be able to join us very shortly. But while we're waiting for that, can I ask that in the chat box?
Yeah,
you could,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't
now
know.
you are back. Yes,
Yeah.
you're back, Sister Arwa.
Salam alaikum. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It just broke off.
Yeah, I think it was just your connection.
Yeah. Subhanallah. So what I was saying, yeah, you should be rubbing in 3 times with your hand under the gushing, flowing water. Rub with your hands 3 times. You don't have to use a jug. I know. Now we're using the shower heads. No one uses a jug and bucket. So it's totally okay and totally acceptable. There was a question there. A sister said that I mentioned the minimum a person could shower is 7 days. Is that ghusl or is that shower? I meant the normal shower. I cannot put a limit, and no one can put a limit on your ghusl. But we're talking about the normal shower. The normal shower where you wash your body is a Muslim should not go over 7 days without pouring water from his head to his feet as a normal shower. No ghusl. Even if you don't have your menses, you have no sexual intercourse, it's not after childbirth. The normal shower, you should not exceed 7 days without having a normal shower.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Sister Arwa. Now I've got 2 raised hands. Sister Shakirat, can you ask your question, please? You can unmute.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Sister Harwa. I didn't get the bit of whether we should have our normal bath before ghusl. So what was your opinion about that? Sorry. Is it ghusl first or you do your normal bathing before ghusl?
No, you do your ghusl first.
Okay.
You do your ghusl first, and then you do your normal shower.
All right, thank you.
Now, if I could follow up on that one, there's another question here from Sister Taliha. She's asking, okay, if we do the ghusl first and then have the normal shower, in the process of that shower, then we'll be touching our private part, and that would invalidate our wudu. So how do we rectify that?
Yes, it is said if you touch your private parts again, you do your wudu to end with. Okay. So after your normal shower with shampoos and shower gel, if you touch your privates again, you do your wudu, your normal wudu again before you leave the shower tub.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Okay, Rahma, go ahead with your question, please. Unmute.
I actually wanted to ask a question. This is me realizing I used to think that you do your ghusl after you shower, and the reason for that was being the question that that had been asked earlier. So I have a follow-up question with that. So just to clarify, ghusl first, right?
Yeah.
Is there any way I could just get evidence of that? Because I'm also, as you know, I'll be talking about ghusl to a lot of women sometime at the end of this month, inshallah. So I just want to make sure that the facts are there. So if there's any evidence that I could use to support that, that would be really, really helpful.
Yes. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, after sexual intercourse, used to shower with Sayyida Aisha in the same tub, in the same bathtub. And she used to say, I used to dig in with my jug, and he used to dig in with his jug. And I used to say, oh, Rasulullah, you're using too much water. Leave me some. Leave me some. So when they were in that bathtub together, they done their wudu, they do their ghusl, the right side and the left side after that. And it's mentioned that Sayyida Aisha used to wash her hair after that. There was no shampoo, with a sidr, which I mentioned prior to this, that it's a plant that is dried, crushed, and grinded and made. And even up to today, it's there in Saudi Arabia. Ask any shop for sidr, he will sell it for you. It's in a powder form, a little bit lighter than a henna color. And it's something, subhanallah, that is in the consistency of it that foams up. So if you put it in a bottle and shake it, you get foam. People have gone up even to put it in a blender. You put the powder, you put water, you blend it, it will foam up. Then Sayyida Aisha used to use the sidr on her hair and on her body. That was very, very clearly stated in all the books of Islam. She did not put the sidr, which is the replacement of shampoo, shower gel, and soap, only after she had finished the ghusl 3 times with pure water. And that is the dalil.
Jazakallah khaira. That
Is there
is
anywhere
very, very clear.
Is there anywhere I could just find that? I just want to be able to have like a clip of like the hadith itself, just so I have that for my own.
Okay. Sister Abra will share that with us, inshallah, and I'll pass
Thank
it on
you very
to
much, Sister Arwa.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Right. I think, again, you clarify one of the questions that I've got here. And that question was, can couples have the ghusl together? And you've clearly demonstrated, you've answered that question with the example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the Aisha. Jazakallahu khair. Now, there is something here that I need to clarify. At the beginning, when we were doing the knowledge audit, there is a post here that make intention and then the specific word depending on which ghusl. Now, is there specific wording for the intention for this ghusl, Sister Arwa?
No, there's no specific words, but when you enter the bathtub or the shower, you know what you're doing this ghusl for. Is it after intercourse? Is it because after your menses has ended? Is it after your first salah, because after childbirth? So there's no specific wording. The intention is in the heart. The dua at the end is the same for everything. A sister said we shouldn't be talking in the toilet. The dua, you do not say it out loud. You say it in your heart, and it is completely okay to say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah wa anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluh. And actually some people repeat it more than once while they're ending the last part of the ghusl. They would say that. There's no ban. Just like when we enter the hammam, when we say Allahumma na'udhu bika min al-khubti wal-khaba'ith, you're at the doorstep of the hammam. And when you're leaving, you say Alhamdulillah alladhi adhaba anni al-adha wa afani. You leave with your right foot and your left foot. The stress on that we should not read Quran in the hammam. You should not do zikr in the hammam, just general zikr. But the du'as specifically made for washing, for wudu, for entering and leaving al-hammam, there is no ban in saying them. If like part of you is in the toilet, half of you is out in the toilet, there is no ban in Islam where you should not be saying what you should be saying as part of your wash, even after wudu. Allahumma ja'alni min at-tawwabin wa ja'alni min al-mutahhirin. It is believed that before the lavatory, the toilet part was never put with the wudu part. The bathtub was never with the lavatory part. But because today our toilets are like this, the scholars have said ad-din yusr, you cannot, especially now, all the sisters are saying, well, we're doing our ghusl, and then we're going to have a shower with the shampoo. So Allah has never, and this religion has never been a religion of stress. Well, you're going to dress your bathrobe, walk out of the toilet, do your dua after the ghusl, and then come back in, remove your clothes, jump in to do your normal shower with the shampoo and shower gel. No, you could do it, but you do it in your heart. You're not saying it out loud there. And it's, inshallah ta'ala, this is the form of the ghusl, and this is what the scholars have acknowledged for our everyday lives. But that's the order. You do your ghusl first, then you do your shampoo and shower at the end.
Jazakallah khair, Sarah. I hope that is clear to everybody. But just to clarify, we are allowed to make the dua because these are specific dua for the ghusl. Now, Sister Arwa, you did mention, okay, we say it in our heart. Now, is it, when you say it in our heart, we are verbalizing it or we're not, especially for the dua after the ghusl or even the one after the wudu? So,
yeah, I mean, verbalizing it.
When we say it, are we not producing sound, but moving the lips and the tongue, or we shouldn't even move the lips and the tongue?
No, you move your lips and your tongue, but it couldn't be heard. Yani, nobody else should be hearing it. Even you shouldn't be hearing yourself. Like you say, you can see the mimic of the lips, but
If you could just...
there's no sound coming out.
Okay, we lost you for a minute or so there, Sister Arwa.
Right. So I'm saying you move your lips, you can see the movement of the lips, but you can't hear anything. Even between yourself, you cannot hear yourself whispering it. So I hope that's clear. There's a sister here with her hand up, Sister Awa.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, sister. I have heard that if you immerse your body in the sea water, that can act as ghusl. Is that right?
If you immerse your body in sea water and just go out without performing
if you go with the niyyah,
with the niyyah. Wallahi, sister, that is something I've never heard. Yani, even at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a companion that was with them, and they were after a war, after a battle, and he had a big cut to his hair. And when it was salah time, he needed to do ghusl, and he said, I'll just do tayammum, which is a dry wudu, tayammum, the other form of wudu, if there's no water or if you're sick. And the companions stressed, they said, no, because you need ghusl, you have to do your ghusl. So he jumped into a lake or something, and he got water, and he done his proper ghusl where he washed his head 3 times. That wound got infected and he died. When they came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they told him, they narrated the story. They said, brother, companion so and so, he said, qataltum akhakum, you have killed your brother. You have forced him in doing ghusl where he had a wound. What I'm narrating here, or the evidence here, they made him do his ghusl, and when he done it, he didn't say, I'm just gonna run over with one dip in the pond or river, whatever it is, and go out. He washed his head 3 times, and that wound got so soaked in water, it got infected, and he died.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, subhanallah.
Right.
I don't know, and I've read it nowhere, Sister Awa. Sea water is pure. Sea water is pure. Yeah, you could do your ghusl in sea water, but you'd have to do it 3 times. Reach your roots, do your wudu for salah, do your feet. That is the proper form of ghusl. I'm not saying that sea water isn't pure water. No, it is about just jumping in sea water and jumping out, and that's it. You're done. You're pure. That I have never heard. and was never mentioned in Islam, unless you've read it somewhere. Maybe you could share it with us. There was another hand up there. وجزاك خير, Sister Aw.
Unfortunately, Sister Arwa, we are running out of time. I know there are 2 hands raised in here. And as I said at the beginning, this is just one episode in the series on purification. If we couldn't answer your question today, inshallah, on the next episode in the series, we will be able to answer the question, or please visit our website. Rhoda, could you display the link to the website? You could leave your questions in there and inshallah we'll attempt to answer it. Again, Jazakallah khair, Sister Arwa, for this sharing your knowledge. And I think it's quite insightful. And I'm sure everybody will believe with me, you will have gained one thing or the other from this lecture. Again, remember, it's all about perfecting our ghusl, making it perfect.
Inshallah.
Now we're moving on to the second segment, but Sarah, please stand by in case we're coming back to you with some questions. We're moving now to the second segment, which is one of the main worries of sisters. Main worries. My hair, what happens to it? And to do justice to that topic, we have Rahma, who is very, will I say, very passionate about hair care. And she's had hair events, the first of its kind, in London on 2 occasions. So she'll be sharing with us this afternoon how to care for our hair after the ghusl. Bismillah, Rahma. Do you need to share anything? Rhoda,
yes, I have a PowerPoint. If you can give me a screen, what's it called? Hosting privileges.
Okay. Rhoda, can you please allow her to share her screen? Okay. The floor is yours.
Salam alaikum, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Sister Aura, I'm actually glad that you're staying on because I feel like I might have some questions for you as I actually go through my session. I do think that understanding the spiritual side of it is very important. And just to reiterate what Sister Aura has been saying, when it comes to hair care, we'll delve into that in a minute, but there is a difference, as you've mentioned, between spiritual cleanliness and the cleanliness that we're used to today. Spiritual cleanliness with Allah is definitely just using water. And the reason I'm making that distinction is when it comes to hair and hair care, there might be some little things where, you know, sisters don't want the hair to be musty because they're wearing a hijab, all of those things, just to make that clarification. So when it comes to ghusl, right, water is the only thing that you need, right? Okay, so hopefully I have host privileges now, and then I'm going to attempt to, Ralda, have you given me host privileges?
Yes, I've done that.
Oh, it's all done now.
She has.
Let me try and see how I'm going to be able to, ooh, okay, share. All right. I'm going to share my screen. And then hopefully everyone will be able to see this. Can we all see that?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Rahma, and today I'm going to be talking about ghusl and hair care. Just a quick one about me, for those of you who don't know. I run a page called Forsi Hijabi, and it's hair care for mostly curly Muslim sisters because there's just lack of information when it comes to our hair care. I used to do digital art in the past. I did a 6-month hair course, which has been one of the things that has helped me have foundation in the knowledge of hair care. But it was also important for me to have the Islamic foundation because at the end of the day, our Islam comes first, and then we revolve the rest of our practices around that, not the other way around. And some of you might also know me from the Black Muslim Hair Care Experience Survey, which I got 2,700 responses from women around the world. And that was very enlightening for me to see the struggles that women were having with hair care, especially where Ghusl was concerned. And this one is where I am now, which is the co-founder of the world's first Black and Muslim hair care event. We'll be having our first online event on the 24th of August. More on that later. And those of you who have, if anyone here has booked a ticket, you'll be getting like a nice little prelude to what we will have at the event, which will be a little bit more extensive. Okay, right. So yeah, Carl's Brothers and Sisters, where you can find me. We hold events, both in person and online. You can take a screenshot at any time if you so wish. So go ahead, feel free to take screenshots so that you have the information there for you to be able to refer to.
Sorry, can I just add, when you take screenshot, please do not
take anybody else's
reasons, take any other people's photos.
Yeah, just the PowerPoint or just the screen here. Okay, all right. So I do have an extensive Instagram post that goes into Ghusl. You will find that on my Instagram page. If anyone's wondering, oh, can I have some notes? If you go on Fawsi Hijabi, it is the 3rd pin post. What the obligations are, things that Sister Arwa has already mentioned, and some tips. So if you want something a little bit more extensive, I do have an Instagram post. But if you want to go into even more detail, then you can join the online event, inshallah. But yeah, this pretty much covers everything. And then I have in my highlights as well exactly what Sister Arwa has said, which is how to perform Ghusl. So that's all there for you if need be. Right, okay, so today we are going to be discussing just some basics with hair care and Ghusl. And for me, it's all about being practical, right? I feel like a lot of times when it comes to hair care, we just focus on the style and we focus on the product and we lose practicality. And sometimes we're not thinking about how it actually, you know, fits into our life. So say, for example, we are just, you know, we just want a magic product that will help our hair grow. We're not actually assessing what we're doing to make, you know, our hair fall out in the first place. So I'm all about being practical with hair care, and then the styling comes after. So there's a priority: Islam first, practicality, and then styling. So it's not like I don't like nice hair, right? But you have to try and picture it that way in your mind. So the mindset going in is the most important part. Okay. This is from the Instagram post as well. And I just want Sister Arwa to help me clarify when I get to the 3rd point, how much water is a jug? Because I've read and I've had people tell me this, but I will come back once I get to that 3rd point. But as Sister Arwa has already mentioned, you want to ensure that the skin, aka the scalp, becomes wet. So I'm just going to be focusing on the hair care part. And remember that hierarchy, Islam. And then the second thing is practicality with how you manage your hair. And then finally, you can go into styling. So make sure your entire scalp is wet. And it's actually quite interesting as well. You know, as Muslims, we talk about cleanliness and the importance of it. When it comes to hair care, the part that you actually need to scrub is your scalp, not your hair. Hair is made out of dead cells. They don't tend to cling on to dirt as much, but your scalp is the dirtiest part of your hair. So it's actually quite interesting that in Islam, our scalp, so I need you to make that distinction between your scalp and your hair. Our scalp is the part that really needs to be cleansed. So that is how the Prophet ﷺ used to clean his hair when he was making and performing Ghusl. When you're shampooing your hair as well, your focus is the scalp and not necessarily the length of the hair, unless obviously you have, I don't know, you slap loads of gel or something on it and you have to really wash that out. But your scalp is the part that really needs cleansing. Right, so how? Remember, Islamically, we need to make sure the water gets under there. If you have braids, cornrows, locks, same thing. You can just press. You can press into the water into your hair as well. But I would advise, this is the practical side now, thinking of the health of your scalp, not to scratch with your nails. The reason being, you can cause tears in your scalp, which once again, open wounds, they can lead to infection. It could be the reason that you're itching so much. So you want to be using the pads of your fingers. So that's the flat part when you are rubbing. How much water? Here's where I need Sister Arwa's input, because I've heard of sa'as and muds of water, and I've been told that it's approximately, the amount you pour on your head is approximately 3 double palmfuls of water. So if you can clarify, Sister Arwa, if that is something you've heard or...
Yes, can you hear me? I don't know.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Right, okay, if you can hear me clearly, that's great. Subhanallah, there has never been a specific amount of water in Islam. The ban goes in not wasting. So let's say we all differ. My head scalp is bigger than a 9-year-old. This 9-year-old, she could be on her menses. She needs to do her ghusl. Like 3 pints of water is enough for her. But for me, it's 4 liters to wet my scalp. So there cannot be a limit. What we know is you don't waste. And what we know is you have to make sure your roots and your scalp is drenched. We go back to saying, what if I had used a shower, what's it called? A hair gel or a hair foam. And that hair foam will not go out only with 6 liters of water. I'll have to get it out. That cannot be counted as waste. I have to make sure that shower gel is completely wiped out from my scalp by gushing and gushing and gushing the water. But what we're talking about is the limit is when you start wasting. Do not waste water. That's the limit. But subhanallah, there's no limit because we differ. I cannot tell you 3 handfuls. What if there's still residue or you didn't reach the back part of your hair here? And I tell you, no, 3 handfuls. That's it. Stop. And you haven't drenched it. Then you'll be in the sin of not getting every part of your scalp washed with water. Or I say you need 3 jugs for your whole body. What if your back, there's a part on your back that's still dry? No water reached there. You'll be in the sin of not getting that skin drenched in water. So I hope I've made it clear for everyone there, sister.
Just for further clarification here, then, is it because what I'm saying here is more so the amount that was used, rather than it having to be that amount exactly. So it's not that it has to be that amount, but is there any truth to the amount that Prophet ﷺ would use? And then when you say jug, how much is a jug?
No, there is no amount. And the jug that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used with Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha, no one ever described it or mentioned it. Not because they didn't have metric weights. They had kilograms, and somebody could have said it's a kilo or something like that. But because it wasn't a value in Islam. The value in Islam was not to waste water. And the value in Islam was to have every bit of your body, even your nails, washed with water and soaked in water. So the measurement, I really don't know where they got it from. I don't know what resource that relied on.
I will send it to you. I will send you the hadiths that I was sent, and then hopefully, inshallah, we can gain some clarification.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we've got some clarification there. So the main thing is that your entire scalp is wet, no matter the amount of water that you are using. So we'll come now to practicality, right? Like I said, make sure that you're rubbing with the pads of your fingers until your entire scalp is wet. And I said, try to avoid using your nails. Okay. Before we move on to the next section, I need you all to understand the difference between breakage and shedding. When people talk about hair loss, they usually mean this one. They usually mean the hair is falling out and then the scalp, you can see more of the scalp is thinning. Breakage is slightly different. Now, depending on how you care for your hair after ghusl, and even how you're caring for your hair before ghusl, you could have either of these things happen to you. I've heard so many women come and tell me, oh, you know, I'm doing ghusl a lot more now. Say, for example, they're married or they're doing sunnah ghusl, and they are finding that they are having a lot of breakage or a lot of shedding. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I split it into straighter hair textures, coilier hair textures, and then both, right? With straighter hair textures, there's actually a study that's been done. So if you leave your hair wet, wetting the hair is not a problem, but leaving it wet for long periods of time at room temperature has actually been found to weaken the hair, because what happened is the hair has soaked so much water up. It's just full of water for a long time. And I want you all to think of a balloon that's very full. It will be about to burst. And what tends to happen is it starts to form cracks in the outer layer of the hair, because the hair is so full of water. There's nowhere else for the water to go. It starts to form cracks in the hair. And this has been found prominently more with straighter textures and coilier textures. So after your ghusl, to shower, shampoo, if you want to, all that stuff, make sure that you pat dry, at least with a towel. You can use your blow dryer if you want, but you don't want your hair to be dripping wet. So there's a difference between dripping wet and just a little bit damp, right? You want to avoid having your hair dripping wet and staying that way after ghusl. Okay, so just pat dry with a towel at least. And then also the ends of your hair, that's here, they are going to be weaker than the hair at the roots. And the reason for that is because this hair is new, it's just growing out. And over the years or over the months, this hair is old, so it's a lot weaker. So if you're applying anything like conditioner, oils, creams, you want to focus on protecting this part. Your scalp, for the most part, regulates itself. All you need to do with the scalp is cleanse it, wash it with shampoo. But the whole length of the hair, you want to make sure that at the very least, the ends get the most care when it comes to creams and stuff that you use after ghusl. That is if, and I say if, because everybody is different. Some people with straighter hair textures, the oil makes its way all the way down to the hair. They don't really need to be adding oils into their hair. But if you find that your ends are very dry, then you want to be using oils or creams or conditioner that you rinse off on the ends of your hair. That's very important. That's if you're finding dryness. If you're not experiencing that and you don't have that issue, don't worry. Right, with curly and coilier textures, dryness is a huge thing. That's what you want to, so prior to making ghusl, maybe just touch your hair beforehand. Let's say your hair is very, very dry. Then I would suggest you perhaps, for example, get some conditioner in your hands, just a little bit, put it on the ends of your hair, then go in, make your ghusl, make your wudu, and then when you're rinsing it off with your head, you can use that to also rinse off the conditioner. The reason I say that is the conditioner will create, it'll kind of balance out the pH, and it will add a layer of moisture and flexibility to your hair so that after the ghusl, when the water evaporates, your hair is not left feeling super dry. So especially for married sisters who perform ghusl often, you don't have to do the conditioner thing with every ghusl every day. That's why I say at the very beginning, assess your hair and assess it for dryness. Sometimes if I've just moisturized my hair and then I have to go make ghusl, I don't have to put anything. My hair is already moisturized. So you assess prior to making ghusl. You can use a conditioner tip. Then after your ghusl and you pat dry with a towel, this is the same for both. Assess it again. Let's say I really moisturized my hair the night before. I've made ghusl, my hair still feels moisturized. Go on about your day, right? But if after ghusl you're still feeling a bit of dryness, then that's when you use a leave-in. And I understand that some of us come from different parts of the world, and we get confused with the word moisturizer, cream, conditioner. Most of the time they're used interchangeably. It's the thing that you leave in your hair that has water as the main ingredient. Now, the water is not because your hair needs water itself, but the water allows the creams and the elements in it to help moisturize your hair to move around. Okay, so you want to use a leave-in moisturizer, cream, conditioner. It's often interchange, but the key thing is that it's left in your hair. So this is after ghusl, and you make sure you focus on your ends, just like I said with straight hair, because the ends are the oldest part of your hair, and the coilier your hair, the drier it tends to be. Okay, so that's why what you guys want to be doing is before you go in for ghusl, you assess your hair. If it's very dry, put that conditioner on the ends, do your ghusl, everything, come out, pat dry, check it again when it's nearly dry. If you need more moisture, just add your leave-in and then go on about your day. Right, for both, and this is for everyone. As you can see here, I was just showing you an example of hair, and hopefully this is literally how hair is formed, the blood vessels. And then here you see the keratin grouping together. This is where your skin is, and then the hair comes out, right? The hair is newest here and it's oldest there. So that's just another depiction. And it's important that you understand that, because when you do tight styles, and sorry, I feel like I've just been talking at everyone. When you do tight styles, what do you think that could cause? So if you think of that picture I showed you right at the very beginning, if your bun is very tight, if your hijab is very tight, anyone just want to unmute and tell me what you think could happen? Anybody?
The blood doesn't circulate.
Good. The blood doesn't circulate very well. And if the blood doesn't circulate, do you think that the hair would grow to its best capability? Sorry, that sounded like a rhetorical question, but yeah, no, because you see, this is where the blood vessels are. They pump the follicles with nutrients, and then that's what it uses to make the hair cells which group. So if you are cutting up circulation, you are reducing the chances of hair growth. Your hair will still grow, but it won't grow to its best capability because it's being suffocated. And I need you all to understand that the hair at the perimeter of your head is the weakest of all of your hair. Because think about the hair on your face. It's very thin and very soft and easily breakable. And it transitions from the hair on your face into your edges. So that hair on your edges at your hairline, it's the weakest. The last thing you want to do is put too much stress on it with tight undercaps. Another thing that could happen if you're wearing very tight buns, where the bun wraps around your hair and pulls it, that part, especially if you have straighter hair texture and even curly, if your hair is very wet and you're putting it in a tight bun, and the hair that is wet is in one of its weakest states, then what you are doing is you are causing chances for breakage. The hair is much more easier to break hair when it's very wet than it is to break hair when it's damp. So the weakest states are very wet and very dry. It is easier to break your hair when it's very wet or when it's very dry. The best thing is for it to be in the middle, which is why I continue to encourage, make sure you pat dry after ghusl. And you'll notice I said pat. I didn't say rub, because if you rub it too much, the hair is weak, you are causing a lot of friction, especially for the coily sisters. So avoid tight styles. It's just a recipe for hair damage. Traction alopecia is alopecia that happens when you're doing too much tight styles. The hair, you see this here, it gives up and it just comes out. It's like, halas, I'm not going to grow any hair more. I'm not going to grow any more hair. That's it, done. Because you have just been pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and then the follicle's damaged, right? And then that's it. To bring that back, you might even need medical intervention. And in some cases, it might scar and that's it. Hair would never grow from there again. So just try to avoid tight styles. You should never feel like you take off your hijab off and, oh my God, now I feel relaxed. You should never shouldn't be getting a headache from it. So wear looser buns and don't tighten your undercaps too tightly. Okay. Right, so this is...
sorry to interrupt, but we are really very, very tight on time.
Okay,
now,
right. So I will speed through it. Protein treatments are great. We know in science that over manipulation of hair can weaken it. So if you're making ghusl a lot, you're manipulating your hair a lot, I highly recommend that you incorporate a protein treatment into when you're washing your hair and conditioning it. I have 2 examples of protein treatment. My favorite one is this one here, but everyone might not be able to access that. If you don't have a protein treatment, that's fine. Please don't use eggs. It's not the same thing. But you can use a protein treatment with your conditioner or just follow the steps of the protein treatment to strengthen your hair if you're manipulating it a lot. So please do take a screenshot of that. And then I will move on to the next slide. I'm nearly done. Okay, so hopefully we've all took a screenshot. Right, really quickly, this is once again to encourage your hair not being overly wet after you've pat dried it. I always suggest wearing, these are both from Haute Hijab, Haute, wearing thinner scarves and undercaps if you can. You can see here, and I've picked this image, you can see it's kind of thin, but when she wraps it, you can't see anything, you can't see her hair. So even though you can't see her hair, there'll still be air that can get through so that your hair can at least air dry throughout the day. If you have to make ghusl and leave the house straight away, let's say you're a mum or you're a working woman and you have to go shopping, you've got to go to work straight away, pat dry your hair and then wear an undercap, a thin undercap, and like a chiffon hijab. That would be more ideal and more practical. But if you don't have one, just maybe focus on pat drying and maybe add a little bit of oil on the surface of your hair to reduce the friction against your hijab. Oh, against your scalp and hair. Right, so that's pretty much it from me. You can always DM me for more questions. I'm happy to take questions today here, but you can always DM me at 4C_hijabi. Please take a screenshot of that if you would like. And then also, just to remind all of you, we do have Pearls, Cores and Sisters, which is my platform for events. I'm one of the co-founders with my amazing co-founder, Muna, where we do events for hair care, and we literally teach Black and Muslim women how to take care of their hair, from even learning how to do cornrows to ghusl and much more. There is early birds tickets out now, so I will post a link on the chat if anybody is interested. If you want a little bit more detail and you feel like today is not enough for you and you have a lot more questions, please do feel free to book your ticket. It's early bird at the moment, but we have very few early bird tickets left. I will post that on the chat. And then that's me done. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Rahma, for that. I'm sure, there's more details, but just to summarize, the key steps, if I get you right, number one is to moisturize the hair before you go have your shower if it is very dry.
If necessary,
conditional,
yes.
Necessary. And then rub the scalp, not necessarily the hair, and do not scratch the scalp.
Yes.
And then when you finish, do not just rub towel and the way we do it. I know you crank each time I'm drying my hair. So just pat it. And then if we finish, we need to moisturize again. We can moisturize. And then if we need to leave immediately, we can then wear a breathable fabrics over the hair. I hope I got that right.
Perfect. That's it.
I'm not so dumb after, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will have time for just a few questions.
Right. I can see.
Type in your question, or you could raise your hand, but I'm sure there will not be enough time to dive deep into. We may have to bring Grandma back another time, but we would answer as much as we can within the 6 minutes that we got left. Bismillah.
Okay, so I've seen a question here. Are the same tips for relaxed hair? Yes, I will have another addition for relaxed hair. You need to be doing protein treatments regularly, because the relaxer, the way it straightens your hair, is it actually breaks it down so that it can stay straight. So relaxed hair is actually slightly weaker. So you don't play with your protein treatments. Maybe do a protein treatment every 3 to 6 weeks if you want to retain length. Some people prefer shorter hair. How come we are advised to brush only when wet in the shower? Some people say that, and this is where I said there's a difference between curly and straight hair. There's not much evidence out there that curly hair has the same. It is still weaker when it's wet, but it might not have the same level of weakness as straight hair when it's wet. And by the way, when I talk about the wetness, and I talk about, it's called hygrofatigue, is when the hair remains wet for a very long period of time. With curly hair, it's actually found that the water helps the comb glide better. So you have two things. You have breakage that's caused from the comb getting caught, and then you have weaker wet hair. So some people say, well, if my hair is wet, it's weaker, but the comb's not going to get caught. So it's less likely to have breakage. So there's two schools of thought there. But if you are going to comb your hair when it's wet, I would suggest you do it when you have conditioner in your hair. For me, I prefer to detangle my hair with conditioner before I go into the shower. And then I make sure I keep it detangled. But I can talk a little bit more about that at the event, inshallah. I don't know if there's any other questions in the chat box with hair. If anyone has one that they'd like to ask, just raise your hand and go ahead and I will answer it, inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much, Rahma, and thanks to everybody who's been in attendance